All right, straight in. Hello everyone, welcome back. Here we go, video 2. Might be good to have a notepad or a phone if you want to take some notes. I hope you've enjoyed turning over my proposition from video 1, where I really stated as boldly and clearly and as evocatively as I could how the essential first step for you to increase your teenage child's motivation may well be to step back, to get off their backs, not to keep stepping in. In both the short and long term, my experience with countless families has shown me the immense value in both relationship and motivation terms of giving up on command and control and reward and punishment, and instead opening up to a more trusting, loving, easygoing and respectful way of helping your child to fulfill their potential and step into the driving seat of their own lives to be the best that they can be. So this video now is about prioritizing our relationships, our closeness with our teen above all else. How can we start to build or rebuild trust and connection with our teen if we've lost it entirely or in part from the roots up? That's the question for this video. We don't want to just leave them alone, get off their backs and then have no actual relationship with them, which can happen in the teenage years. You can start leading pretty separate lives, but clearly that's really not good for anyone. So we don't want it to get like that. So this video is focused on all the things you can do to start your relationship anew. Gone is any trace of the scary sergeant major or claustrophobic helicopter parent that your kids might be closing off to and that you're also exhausted and dispirited by. And in comes a brave, a revitalizing, fresh new era, a new way of going about things together, and a new and altogether more sincere basis for a relationship, one that is founded on love, trust, respect, openness, honesty, commitment, and fun. These are the 7 core values of the Young Fire Academy. If you want to know, as a parent, how to motivate your child more, look first of all to the true nature of your relationship with them. Let's put some time and energy in there today. My work has led me to see this so clearly that if the parents and child are aligned in their understanding and purpose, if love, trust, respect, openness, honesty, commitment, and fun are the basis of daily interactions with each other, then everything opens up and becomes possible in motivation terms and in general. All teens ultimately, I'm telling you, want to step up. They want to show they can take on responsibility. They want to show they can do it, that they have the power and ability to be of benefit to themselves and others in their lives and relationships. This, I believe, is the true freedom that they crave. Autonomy, agency, empowerment. However, if there is conflict, coercion and tension at home, then quite a degree of confusion can be created in this dynamic transition period on all fronts, and certainly for the child in terms of their motivation in life and in school. So it's an essential and non-negotiable part of our job as parents to be as authentically close as we possibly can to our child. Only great things will come from this investment of time, emotional connection and energy. And the reverse is true too, obviously, that if we don't manage to maintain or create a close, trusting, loving and harmonious relationship, then it can cost everybody considerably and lifelong. In this video, I'm going to encourage you to take some essential steps to improve the nature of your relationship with your teen, however that currently is. And I'm telling you now, it doesn't matter how your relationship looks right now for this to work. It doesn't matter if it's a complete mess right now, or if you're listening and thinking, well, we're actually okay, we're not fighting exactly, it's not that bad. Listen, if you're here watching this video series, I think you need this and stand to benefit as greatly from this as anyone else. We're all far too good at pretending that everything's all right, especially in family life, and avoiding the harder truths and then not being in optimal relationship with each other. Partly maybe because we just don't know what to do about it. It all seems so complicated, overwhelming, and no one's been able to tell us how to resolve these concerns, difficulties or challenges that we know we currently have in our specific situation and family circumstances. I'll take the challenge any day to help a willing and open family of any kind to improve your relationships with each other, with the effect that your child's motivation will also increase in school and out of school. That's what I do in my teen and parent coaching program, and that's how I've come to make video series like this to freely share with you all who I hope will hugely benefit from it. With what I've learned these past 20 years, it's fairly simple. We might not want to hear it, we might not want to do it, we might feel unable to do what it takes, but the opportunity is there for anyone who's committed enough to change. So here we go. The Build-up is over. Thanks for carving out this time for yourself and your family and your busy lives. I believe you couldn't be with a better teacher right now to help you get these results that you're after. So let's do it. The first one we dealt with in video 1, step back, back off, give them space, stop controlling and punishing them. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. If you need to watch that video, please go back and watch video 1. It'll be in your inbox. Secondly, we need to take responsibility. So this one's called Take Responsibility. If you're taking notes to be able to refer back to, in fact, if you want, we can send you a PDF of these 8 instructions so you can keep them to hand, print it out, pin it up. So yeah, email us if you want that. Number 1, step back. Number 2, take responsibility. We need to accept within ourselves, first and foremost, and then perhaps to our teen and other children, that we may not have been parenting in a way that has served everyone perfectly all the time. We had the best of intentions, of course. We've done everything we could in our power to show up in the right way. We brought everything we knew to try and serve and do the best by everyone in our family, but some of it has been painful, effortful, unproductive, unskillful, and ultimately harmful at times. We just have to admit this to ourselves to be able to grow and evolve in a way that shifts the current dynamics with our teen. Now, this is a big personal step. Admitting we haven't been absolutely brilliant as a parent to ourselves takes guts and openness. Mostly we just want to maintain the illusion, and we have also been an incredible parent in so many ways. And in the parent coaching communities I host, this is just as much the emphasis as what we can change and improve in. But there is no way of being a perfect parent, however gifted, grounded, in tune, or enlightened we may think we are, or we may actually be. It's just such a demanding role. Many think the hardest, most important, and most complex job on the planet. So with complete gentleness and understanding towards ourselves, we would do well to get real about our own anger, blow-ups and volatility, for example, or our plain ignorance, just not knowing what to do in many given situations, or regrets we may have for decisions we made for our children in the past, or actions we took, or the criticism, blame, or judgment we leveled at our child at times in response to their speech, behavior, and actions, or their inaction. Admitting to ourselves, first of all, that it's been hard, we haven't always known what to do, and we have got it plain wrong maybe at times, is a phenomenally powerful and beneficial step. This is one epic threshold between you and a completely transformed relationship with your teen, overnight in some cases, that I urge you to cross. Sit with all that's gone on and have a reckoning with yourself first of all. List in your mind or on paper right now. Pause the video if you need to and start listing everything we wished we'd done differently, the lows in our relationships that come to mind, and all the ways we've tried and yet perhaps still failed to optimally support our children in terms of their growth, development, and motivation in life. Okay, pause the video if you need to and spend 5 minutes on that. Then, thirdly, apologize. If it feels appropriate to you, you could consider an apology of some sorts. An admission of regret, guilt, or shame to clear anything that is hanging in the air between you, perhaps in your relationship, however small or significant. There may be something you're holding on to that your child was particularly struck by, an experience, an event, or a conversation. Whatever it might be, just the dynamics of parent apology, contrition, humility, and vulnerability are powerful ways to reach your teen again, to show them your humanity beyond the parent that knows it all, always gets it right, and knows what to do in any circumstance. Stepping off this pedestal, now that they are old enough to understand better, if it feels right to you, this can greatly increase, not decrease, their respect for you, and show them, by the incomparably powerful way to teach, which is role modeling, that it is great and powerful, a sign of strength of character, not weakness, to open up, to be real, to apologize, to make amends. Fourthly, sit them down and tell them. You can formalize this change you're planning to make in a specific conversation or declaration, although it would probably be much more informal than that makes it sound. Maybe some level of apology is part of a bigger statement of retiring the old, nagging, stressed, pressurizing you, stepping back officially, drawing a line in the sand, and defining this step with your teen or your whole family. Tell them that you're done. pushing them, relating to them like a manager, trying to control them, pestering them, or whatever it is you know you need to retire from. Now you're going to leave them to it, and your relationship is ready to go to the next level. You can prepare for a specific conversation with them. If you feel it's time and you recognize that you need to change things in your household and in your relationship, then sit down with them and open it all up. Make some notes beforehand if you want to be clear and not too long-winded, and tell them what you're no longer going to do. Probably not using notes, just to prepare yourself. Also apologizing for any hurt caused up until this point. Tell them that they're now going to be the ones responsible for this or that, and you're going to leave them to it. No beef, no resentment, no blame, total ownership on your part of the past, and a clear handover and a blanket offer of support and love for them going forward. The next steps are to do with how to relate and communicate in general, starting with asking them what they think, swapping out solving things for them or presenting them with endless suggestions or solutions to their questions and challenges, switching it round, resisting responding and instead asking them, what do you think would be best? What do you want to do? What do you think is right? Sometimes we need to reboot our systems and stop falling into the same trap again and again with our teen. We noticed how your advice and suggestions generally falls on deaf ears these days. Or maybe it's all unsolicited advice that we're giving. Did they actually ask for our opinion, for us to share our experience, or for us to make a load of suggestions for what they could do? Probably not. So let's resist doing it and ask them what they think. Follow that up, if you like, with this question. Would you like my advice, to hear my experience, or any suggestions for that? Make it super easy for them to say no if they don't. Eventually, if you do this enough times and without it becoming annoying or predictable, they will say yes. That will make all the difference. Then they're genuinely listening, open and interested. Then you can share and guide effectively as a parent. Then, listening. When you ask, and I don't mean to be facetious about this, but practice actually listening back to what they say. Really tune into their world, their perception, and their whole being. Don't let's make any presumptions about who they are, what they're going to think or should think, or that we already know who they are and therefore what's best for them. Listen to what they think and what they have to tell us. We must read between the lines whenever we can as well to see if there's a deeper need that we could help them with, also beyond just what they're saying. Teenagers are not well known for lucid self-expression with words, especially not their dynamic emotional needs. What are they really communicating or asking for? Often it won't be what they present with their words. Teenagers are cagey about their feelings and insecurities, not unlike many of the rest of us, so we have to switch on our most intuitive sense to be able to support them in the ways they really need, and may not even be aware of themselves at this stage. If that sounds hard, don't worry about it. Just start with practicing listening and listening openly, without snap judgment to your children. I'd expect all of us could always improve in that, all of us. All right, last 2 points. Physical closeness. Now, teens do not generally want to be smothered or hugged against their wishes or made to engage with their parents in this way. Some do, but many start to move away physically from us and to isolate themselves in a bid to reassure themselves of their own growing independence. They feel like they should stand on their own 2 feet, not be so needy or sensitive for mommy and daddy's support, and developmentally they are being pushed in this direction. However, this does not mean that we should necessarily give up on our physical closeness with them, if we can find a way to continue with this. Now, just like teens generally will open up more verbally when they're shoulder to shoulder with you, as opposed to eyeball, like when you're building something together, cycling, maybe working in the garden together, or engaged in a sport like golf or sailing where there is time for conversation too, or most commonly, for most of us, just driving in the car or walking somewhere. Similarly, they might not want a staged hug where you come at them front on or suggest that you have a hug or spread your arms wide and expectantly. This might be too much for them, too confusing for them at this stage in a weird sort of way. We have to be more stealthy, more subtle and less confrontational with our physical closeness at this age and stage. We have to kind of steal our hugs from the side or behind, with their unspoken consent, of course. Use your discernment and respect all of their boundaries around this. But if you can, stroke them, touch them, put your arm around them, side hug, or give them a peck on the cheek in a way that's in the flow and easy and accepted by them. If you can see and be sure that this is actually deeply welcomed and appreciated, then that's great. If not, be physically available at any time. Be ready and just wait until it's the right moment, until they are ready to come to you. You are ready and it feels completely right, comfortable and nice for both of you. Okay, finally, holding them in the highest regard. How we think about them. If our minds are full of criticism, judgment, irritation, disappointment, and resentment towards our child, and there's absolutely no shame if it is, this can easily be the case in the teenage years, my suggestion would be to exercise some mental hygiene. Clean things up in our own minds. Reset our perception of them back to their true being, the child they were when they were sweet and innocent, and recognize that they are still that child. They still have all those magnificent qualities, still have that original sweetness and innocence, just in a different form now. An adult form like us, more hidden away, less naive, more guarded perhaps, and more troubled. But we as parents must carry the torch for our children always. Believing in them to their core, thinking highly of them always, thinking the best of them, nurturing that sense of them, their inner goodness of nature, character and intention. If you're up for it, I recommend becoming aware of how you speak to them, every single word, and questioning whether it's empowering or disempowering for them and you, for you to speak like that. And one step beyond this even is how we speak about them when they're not there, when we're with friends or our spouse or partner and they're nowhere near earshot. All that energy also goes into our relationship with our teen. None of it's hidden or separate from how we are with them then. So any gossiping, negative labels or stories we tell to vent our frustration with friends or seek support from other parents or our family all create the narrative, and more importantly affect and play out in the dynamics of our relationship with our child. Mental and verbal hygiene, just whenever we remember to do so. So let's keep it clean, exalted, positive, without sugarcoating any toxic behavior that needs addressing, of course, and without denying ourselves the honesty to access the support we need from friends and family, but just nurturing a deep love, support, and belief in our child, reflected in our thoughts and speech about them, that we can then take into our relationship with them in every moment. Okay, we did it. Now that's a lot. But I hope you can feel the power and the potential in all of it. And you've taken note of the steps that you internally or externally want to take and practice. Keep this list of insights close to you, and if you didn't take notes, you can email us to request a PDF and just replay the video and create your own bespoke plan of action, intention and commitment to follow through on. I'd love to help you understand more fully now why you should completely commit to all the steps in this training series, beyond just my opinion, by introducing you to a few parents who've been before you, so to speak, who've worked with me and with Young Fire Academy, usually whilst I've been coaching their teens in parallel, but not always. These parents have their own way of communicating the same message and the benefits of this approach, which I'm sure you'll appreciate and be struck by. So here they are. What's your advice for a 14-year-old, a parent of a 14-year-old who's like, whoa, GCSEs are coming and it's just not feeling like a fit. What can I do?
I think your word retire, I think step right back away from making it yours and just be there for whatever they decide they want to do with it. I would say, and don't freak out. Not don't freak out, because I freaked out.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah.
Try and find, whatever will support you not to freak out, because it is counterproductive anyway. The more stressed that child, I work with teenagers, and it's so upsetting to hear how stressed they are and how sick they feel and all the kind of emotional and physical responses they feel to the stress of school. And I think that as parents we can the best we can do is provide the space where we're not adding to that. At least we're not adding to that. At the very we step back and they know that they're safe to be ambivalent, to kick it. I mean, the number of times Henry supported me to go, okay, let's see what let's give him that option of jacking this all in. And you think, okay, oh my God, now we're standing on the top of the diving board. Are we really going to let him jump? And that's the best thing. And anyone who needs some support, Henry is just fantastic at being there, and a massive support for me. So many times when I felt beside myself, a conversation with Henry just brought me back, and I was like, okay, reality check, perspective. Today's just one day, you know, all of that. But yeah, I would say all the things that you've said about letting go, pulling back, retiring, and let it be theirs. It's never going to mean anything to them anyway if it isn't theirs. So yeah.
Got to a situation where I think it was just always negative. You know, all my interactions were, you know, I had another email, why haven't you done this? And so he was miserable. I think I was miserable. We were sort of it was all very negative, and it wasn't responding. He wasn't responding either. It wasn't helping. So I think we got into a situation where I think he couldn't see his way out. He sort of, you know, got to a point where he didn't quite know what to do rather than bury his head and continued in the same way. I couldn't see how to support him. And I was feeling very responsible, you know, to help him sort of catch up again, I guess. So I think that's sort of how it started. I think he was sort of disengaged, you know, lacked any enthusiasm for anything at school, you know, wasn't enjoying anything at all. Wasn't really sort of engaging with his friends that much and doing things outside of home. So we were in quite a bad place. And I think I just needed somebody to support him who wasn't me, who wasn't school, somebody who could, you know, be almost like a friend to him, just so he could actually say, this is what I'm really struggling with, you know, what should I be doing? A mentor as you are. Yeah, so finding you and working with you was the start of that. And we'll probably go on to that, but there's been a huge change. I don't know what happens in those calls, your first call, but you know, it works. It really does. He must have felt that it offered something, because he was quite happy and has always been actually really positive about all of the calls and the times he has kind of chatting with you. You know, it's great. You know, he comes in from school, and instead of me saying, oh, I've got an email from the school, you know, why haven't you handed this in? You know, which is what the past was like. And not saying that's completely gone, you know, that it hasn't, but what I'm now getting is emails saying, you know, he was really engaged, you know, he was really interested, he did a great piece of work. And so to be able to greet him, you know, when he comes home, greet him, that sounds really cheesy, but you know, when he comes home, just to say, oh, you know, well done, you know, I got the email, it's fantastic. And he's really pleased. You know, things improved so dramatically, him picking up responsibility, you know, for his work. And also other things outside of work. You know, he's now coaching a football team. He's got sort of other things going on. So it just means that our interaction is very different now. It used to be all, you know, I was that mum on his back. I was the one that you were probably going to have to make that call. And I think you probably did early on. Just, you know, it's just now we can kind of talk about something else. We can laugh. It's just really repaired our relationship.
It's pretty amazing, huh? What this approach can achieve in terms of flipping around the conventional attempts to motivate and passing the responsibility over with full love and support. But you still might be thinking, well, this won't work for us, not for me or for my teen or whatever. Maybe you think they'll take advantage of you being too easygoing with them, or not take you seriously if you soften your approach, identity, and ways of relating in these ways. But if you're already struggling to motivate them, amongst other things, I would say you have nothing to lose exploring this for yourselves, and in whatever way feels comfortable to you. Often when I meet parents, it can't exactly get worse. There is plenty of struggle anyway on all sides, and little if any motivation from the current parenting approach. And it really can be such a win-win approach for both parent and teen. Far less stress and effort from the parent, and with far more gain in terms of the teen taking on responsibility for themselves, stepping into their own agency and purpose, and without having to be nagged or forced into it. You might also be worried about being emotional, open, or vulnerable with your child. Maybe this really isn't your style. But ask yourself this: do you want it to be like this and to stay like this forever? One of the most amazing gifts of being a parent, I think, is being challenged to constantly adapt, learn, and grow. It's not just them that needs this, it's us parents as well, who can benefit immensely from being cornered into finding a way to step up as a parent and empower this relationship, often in ways that might be outside our comfort zone. But therein lies the gold, really. So be brave, take small steps first, and see how that opens things up for you. And then my hope is that you'll never look back and realize that the more open, sincere, and connected you can be with yourself and your teen, the better for all in the family. One other issue you may have is that you might love all this, but have a partner or spouse who won't be prepared to watch these videos or go along with the suggestions I've made to you in them. If you can't persuade them to watch, it's fine to just take this approach for yourself and to role model the effectiveness of it once you're convinced and seeing results to your partner or spouse. If you're done with coercion for motivation and sick of also feeling alienated from your child, then take these steps for yourself and see if you can find a way that your partner or spouse could benefit and even follow you in implementing them over time. You might also think this is a lovely idea, but the school or even your own parents or other family members are putting you under a lot of pressure to make them get their work done and be tougher with them, etc. In respect to schools, I would say it's fine to bounce it right back at them. Tell them that you want your child to learn to take on this responsibility for themselves, not for you to have to make it happen at home. It's not your responsibility, it's much more the school's, in fact. And ultimately, it's your child's responsibility. So if you want to, I would stay out of it. You have every right to have this as a standard for your parenting approach with schools or relatives, since I predict it will be better for everyone in the long run if the student does indeed learn to take responsibility themselves. Same message for well-meaning but interfering family members. Tell them you're not going to be taking the approach of increased control, conflict, and punishment, and that they are welcome to. If they want to, they can ruin their own relationships with their grandchild, temporarily hopefully, until they also can learn. And if they actually have the skill to get through to them with a bit of old school guidance, then great. Harness that bad cop approach from the older generation and have it complement your evolved parent good cop. Finally, you might have a child with whom you're barely speaking currently, rendering any suggestions for increased listening, asking, conversations, or physical contact pretty much irrelevant. If that's how things currently are for you, you just need to be patient to wait for them to feel safer and more free in your relationship with them. Once you've followed all the other steps and suggestions made in this video series that do feel appropriate to you in your situation, you will see when you might have an opportunity to do the rest. Of course, written communication can also be employed if that's easier or more effective for any of you, in fact, than speaking face-to-face initially. All right, great, that's it for today. In the next video, we're gonna have some fun. Literally, we're gonna be focused on how to bring the fun, joy, and bounce back into your family lives and homes, to take your relationship building or rebuilding to the next level. Having stepped back in video 1, invited them in closer and made them feel safe and open to you again in this video, we then want to really send a message to our kids that we want to enjoy life with them and make that also a priority from now on, above even chasing exam grades or other external measures of their apparent worth. All achievements of these kinds will come more naturally and more sustainably anyway, I would say, in this new context of love, trust, respect, openness, honesty, commitment, and fun. Okay, now you've been here listening to me for up to half an hour on video by now with both videos. You know all about me and the parenting approach I know works best for empowering school and life motivation in most teenagers, but I don't know you at all maybe. Maybe I do, in which case, hi, hello again. Either way, I would love to ask you to make contact with me in some way today. If you have a plan of action from today's video that you've created, you've written down that you could send me, I'd love to see that. Love to see what your takeaways have been and what you plan to do. and help you hold yourself accountable to that. You can also request the PDF that I mentioned. I recommend either way having something you can read to yourself daily and refer back to keep the focus and make sure you get the most from giving me your time here. Can't wait to hear from you and see you for the next video. As always, look out for that in your email. Bye for now.